These Axial smoked LED turn signals with halos are for those of you that have a 2007 to 2018 JK. They're looking for a way to not only change up the look of your Jeep, but also add some functionality to the front end. This is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches because there is going to be some wiring necessary to get these halos hooked up. You're going to have to splice that wire into probably a parking light power source, but of course you could also splice them right into an ignition source if you wanted them on all the time, or a switch if you wanted the option to have them on or off. It's completely up to you how you go get those wired, but either way we are going to show you one method of how to get those hooked up. Now, as you can see, this turn signal is going to change up the look of your Jeep even when it's not turned on. When you compare it to a factory turn signal, this of course has the smoked look, where this one is going to be orange. The factory light has an incandescent bulb inside of it, and when you have your parking lights on, it comes on at a low beam, and when you have your turn signals on, it will flash at a higher or brighter beam. This is going to be a little bit different. As you can see, it has the smoked look to it. When you have your parking lights on, you're going to have a halo beam around the outside, or at least that's how we have it wired, so that parking lights turn on this halo around the outside, and then the inside, which is the yellow light, that's going to flash when you have your turn signals on. So you have a white light around the outside and the yellow light on the inside. So completely different look, completely different functionality. Now, in my opinion, something like this with a halo is really going to be more for those of you that already have other halos on the front of your Jeep, whether it be a headlight halo or a fog light halo. But if you wanted to run these as a standalone halo as well, you can certainly do that. That's completely up to you as far as the style goes. Now, the nice thing about these lights is that they do come with everything you need to get them installed from a resistor standpoint. So the newer JKs have a CAN bus system. You can't start changing out incandescent bulbs for LED bulbs without getting fast flash and just in general the computer getting mad at you. So these do include a large resistor that's going to help ensure that the computer doesn't get confused and you don't end up with any sort of fast flash. These are also going to plug directly into your factory turn signal wiring harness. So as far as the yellow light on the inside goes, that is going to be completely plug and play, no wiring necessary. Where you do have to do the wiring, again, is for the outer ring for that white halo, and we decided to pick up power for that from these marker lights on the side here, so when our parking lights are on, that white halo is on, and in order to get that connected, you are going to need to do some wiring. How you do it is up to you, and this is not going to come with any supplies to get that wired up. So whether you decide to use butt connectors, quick disconnects, vampire clips, solder, however you decide to do it, you're going to be supplying all of those supplies. Now, this is going to be a pretty nice light in my opinion. I think it does have a nice look with the smoked finish on it. I'm not a huge fan of a halo in general, but if you are going to have one, this one's going to be nice and bright for you. I do like the fact that it is 2-color, the white halo with the yellow turn signal on the inside, so it does have a lot of good stuff going for it, and it's all going to come in at a pretty low price. These are going to be right around $45 for a pair of these turn signals, and if you take a look at some of the other brands out there, especially some of those more well-known premium brands, they can go for twice that or even more, so these ones are going to be a pretty good deal for you. As I mentioned before, a little wiring involved in this. Let me show you how to get them installed. For this installation, we used a trim removal tool, a crimping tool, and a pair of wire cutters, but depending on how you wire your turn signals, you may need some different tools there. And we also used a small straight blade screwdriver. This is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches, as I mentioned before, because there is going to be some wiring involved in getting the halo on these lights hooked up. So the first step in the installation is going to be getting the hood popped and getting the grille removed. With the hood popped, we can remove the plastic clips across the top of the grille to get it removed. We're going to use a trim removal tool, but a screwdriver would also get the job done. You're going to be careful not to mar the plastic or scratch the paint here while taking the clips out. Before we fully remove the grille from the Jeep, we are going to have to unplug our turn signals, which just happens right behind the grille here. As with most electrical connections, there's going to be a red plastic safety clip that you need to pull out first. You might need a small screwdriver in order to do that. Once you have that pulled out, you can just depress the plastic tab and unplug the connector. At this point, there's nothing else holding the grill in place except for some clips across the bottom, and you can disconnect those by just giving it a pull. With the grill removed, we can get our new turn signals installed. So to get the old ones out, you can give the socket a quarter turn. That will allow the socket and the bulb to come completely out. And then there are just a couple of small plastic pins that you need to push in order to get the whole turn signal housing to release out of the front of the grill. So we'll set that aside, and then we can get our new turn signal housing installed in the grill. Slide that in from the front side and get it snapped down. Now we have to modify our socket just a little bit in order to get our new lights hooked up. So in order to do that, we just need to unplug our bulb. And as you can see on the back side of our new turn signal, we have essentially a bulb socket that we can plug into the socket right here that plugs into our factory wiring harness. Once that's plugged in, give it a quarter turn to lock it in place. And now the turn signal portion should be ready to go. We'll do the same thing over here on the other side. The next thing we're going to do is install this resistor on the Jeep. Now you want this connector to be able to very easily reach the turn signal, and the turn signal lead isn't very long, so these need to be mounted pretty close. You also want to mount these on metal if at all possible, because these can get pretty hot, and if you were to mount it on, say, the inside of the grill, you could end up with some melting or burning, and you certainly don't want that. So these are adhesive on the back side. All we're going to do is peel off that adhesive backing and then stick this on the inside of the tub right here. This area was a little bit dirty, so we cleaned it up to get some good adhesion. And I'm gonna stick it on there just like that, so that the wire is up, and that will allow me to get the grill roughly in position and then plug this in before snapping the grill fully onto the Jeep again. So we have our resistor mounted on this side. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing over on the driver's side. Now we're going to prepare the Jeep for the halo of the turn signal, and where we're going to pick up power for that is actually from these marker lights here. These come on when you have the running lights turned on. They don't flash or do anything like that, so it's a simple 2-wire setup for these lights, and it makes it a really good spot to pick up any sort of power that you want anything to come on when you have your parking lights turned on. So that wire is going to be right here, tucked up in the fender. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And it's going to be the white wire with the green tracer that we're going to tap into. Now, we already have a vampire clip attached onto that wire with a little bit of red wire that we're going to use as our lead. So all I'm going to do is strip this wire out, and I'm going to add a connector on the end of that, just like that. Then we can take the other end of the connector, the male end, and put it on our new lights. And then while we're putting the grill on, we can plug in our resistor and also plug in our wiring here. Now, I realize this is not the way that most of you are going to do this, and that's absolutely fine. You're probably not going to be using a vampire clip or these quick disconnects. You'll most likely just solder something in or use a more weatherproof connector. But for our purposes here, this is how we're going to do it, just to show you how to get everything lit. So this is our red wire that's already vampire clipped into our white wire with the green tracer. All we need to do is strip a little bit off of the end of this. Give it a little bit of a twist. And then we have a quick disconnect. This is the female side that we're going to connect on the end of that wire using a set of crimping pliers. Now I'll just repeat the same process on the other side. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. We'll strip out our red wire. Give it a twist. Actually gonna fold this one over a little bit here. And then we can get our quick connector on there and get everything crimped together. Now that we have the Jeep prepared with the female ends of these quick disconnects, we just have to attach the male ends onto the long leads that are on our turn signals. Then we can get the grille and the turn signals installed on the Jeep. Just unbundle our wire. We're going to be able to shorten these up a good bit. Don't want to make it too short, make it difficult for yourself to work, so hold a little bit of length, just something like that. Strip that out. Give it a twist. And put that connector on there and crimp on our connector. We just have to do the same thing over on the other side. Now it's time to get all of those wires connected before snapping the grille back on the Jeep. So first we're going to plug in our connector for our resistor here. Get that one plugged in. Then we'll plug in our wire for our halos. And finally we can plug in our factory turn signal wiring harness wire here. And anytime you reconnect one of those, make sure you also press down that red locking tab to make sure that everything's going to be nice and seated where it needs to be, and you're not going to have any kind of weird loose connections. There we go. Now we can do the same thing on the other side before snapping the grille into place. And just like on the other side, we'll plug our resistor in first. Next we can plug in the halo wire. And finally, our factory turn signal wiring harness. All right, with everything plugged in, we can snap the bottom of the grille back into place. But we're not going to put the plastic clips across the top just yet. First, we're going to test all of our wiring. So as you can see, I have the parking lights and the four-ways turned on. Successful test. We have both the halos and the center lights lit up, so everything's wired properly. Now we can finish reattaching the grille, drop the hood, and we'll be done. So we'll just pop our factory clips back across the top of the grille, give them a push, and they're resecured. Once the hood is closed and latched, you're done with the installation. So if you are looking for a turn signal that's going to change up the look of your Jeep as well as making it a little bit more modern and a little bit more functional, I would recommend taking a look at these turn signals from Axial, and you can find them right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.